Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher. I use ze, them, and he, him pronouns.
And my name is Judah. I use they/them.
And welcome to our latest episode of Speak Out. Today, in honor of March, which is Bisexual Health Month, we're going to be talking all about bisexuality. We actually have a special guest from our OutWrite staff. If you would like to introduce yourself, Colson.
Okay, howdy. So, as previously mentioned, I'm Colson, pronouns he, they, and yeah, I'm bi, and that's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah, perfect. And then beside me, for the interview interrogation side, we have...
Hi, my name's Kelly. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here to help Chris interrogate.
And I am not bisexual. We are not bisexual.
No, me neither.
Yes, so we are the
we're
non-bisexual interviewers, similar to our little thing we had for Aromantic Week. We're going to be learning all about our folks' experiences with bisexuality, their identities, potentially talking about erasure, biphobia, but also good things like things that bring them joy in their identities, how they found community, etc. So Kelly, would you like to ask the first question?
Well, our first question today is, how do you define your bisexuality?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a hard one.
But yeah, we're starting out with the hard hitters. Let's go.
People define bisexuality differently. Personally, to me, it's some people say that, oh, it's an attraction to two or more genders. For me, it's kind of like a any gender type thing. And people are like, oh, why don't you use pansexual? And it's just because I don't want to.
Whoa, Judah. Whoa. You don't want to do something?
Well, because so some people get really persnickety about labels, and it's just like, well, I kind of don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you can go ahead, Colson.
No, that's totally valid. I relate to that. I don't have a super sophisticated definition of my own bisexuality. It's just kind of I don't know, there's pretty people. Some of them are women, some of them are men, some of them are neither. I don't know. I don't make the rules. And I've also kind of my rationale for the reason why I don't identify as pan is it's even dumber. It's just that I like the bi flag more. I just like the color scheme.
That is so valid.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
That's so real. I use the whoever invented the ocean looking gay man flag. I'm I'm using that one, even though the rainbow one's perfectly fine. Who cares? Bisexuality, just multi-gender attracted people in general. PSA for everyone. Can use whatever label matches best for you. If you have Judah's experience and you use pan or use omnisexual or something else, that's totally fine. But our folks today decided bi works best for them, and that's totally valid. I guess I can do the next question. Oh yeah, Judah, we wanted to talk about this in particular. And if Colson, you have some thoughts too, but how does transness and bisexuality interact? So it could be within your own identity. It could be related to trans experiences within the bisexual community or transphobia within bi or queer spaces. So yeah, how do those interact for you?
Well, this is going to sound kind of silly. I cannot make a decision to save my life. I couldn't make a decision regarding sexuality. Not that you have to make one, but that's kind of been for the longest time that had been the mode of people being gay or lesbian, right? Or being straight or lesbian or something. It was you had to choose between cis men or cis women.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't. I was I don't know. Both seem cool.
I've seen a trans person before.
Yeah. It was just to me at least, that lack of choice also kind of interacts with my gender a lot because I can't really choose anything. I'm not very definitive in my gender, which is nice. I don't really run into any problems regarding that. But definitely, yeah, my bisexuality and my gender are kind of intertwined in that way. I can't choose, not that I do choose, but I can't, I couldn't really settle on, a romantic partner. In terms of, do I want to date guys? Do I want to date girls? Do I want to date, like, I couldn't settle on that. And so, like, similarly with, like, my gender, like, I couldn't settle on that either. Do I want to be a girl? Do I want to be a guy? Do I want to be neither? I don't know. It, like, shifts. And I wrote this before. I think I wrote it in one of my pieces in the past. Like, it shifts a lot. Like, there are days where I'm feeling more feminine. There are days where I'm feeling more masculine. There are days where I'm feeling neither. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the metaphor of choice is actually pretty important. Like, there's the general, like, queer knowledge, or like, well, I don't even know what the word would be, but like the idea that like queer people do not choose who they love, right? And like the thing of you like, oh, I couldn't make a choice is like, well, because you are into both or many, right? So like you making a choice would be antithetical to what your identity is. So it's so interesting how like maybe like gay people or straight people or just people who don't experience attraction to multiple genders are like, well, you have to make a choice. And it's like, well, I thought the whole point was that it's not a choice. Like this is just who I am. And same with your like non-binary identity. Like I exist in this nebulous galaxy space and you literally can't do anything about it. Like you can't tell me to choose whether to be like a man or a woman. I exist in this space and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're a space person. That's just how it is.
That's
Exactly.
just how it be. Yeah, I mean, like, there were definitely a lot of people who did say, like, I think, like, because bisexuality used to be kind of, like, not accepted. It was very, like, taboo to be bisexual. You had to be either or. There was no room to be in between that. And that really sucked for a long time. Like, because, like, I don't know, people would never, I guess people might, but people would never say to, like, a gay person or a monosexual person. I think that's like the term people use for people who are not attracted to multiple genders is monosexual. For monosexual people, they would never tell them that, well, you have to choose. You know what I mean? Like for monosexual people, like whoever they dated was more like accepted. But like the minute like, I don't know, a bi person decided to have multiple partners that happen to be different genders, or like broke up with a partner of the same gender to date a partner with a different gender, it's now all of a sudden like, oh no, like that's not what I thought. Definitely for sure, there has been like revivals of biphobia, just a little bit. On like Twitter and like TikTok and like
Twitter,
all that discourse, like I've had to like physically like remove myself from like those conversations because it's like talking to like a brick wall because there's a lot of misconceptions about bisexuals.
Like, how are we still on the bisexuals or cheaters? Bisexuals are like only doing it because they want more choices. Like, are we still? It's been like 25 years, 30 years. Let's get over that.
Yeah,
let's move past it.
I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like bigotry doesn't really care about precedent or how long things have been like around. Like
bisexuality conversations don't care about Biden.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too, right? Like with you talking about like gay people don't hear like that kind of decision, that like fake decision dichotomy of like you have to choose to be gay or to be straight. It like that thought process like filters down from different fake decisions that queer people have had to make, right? So like in the past it's like, oh, you have to choose, you can be gay and like not live with your family and be completely cut off, or you can be straight and you can have like a supportive, you know, family. And now that like being, and of course, disclaimer for anyone listening, homophobia still happens, still everywhere, but out of the identities, people who are cis and gay are, especially if they're also white, are typically more accepted than people of other identities and those intersectionalities. But anyways, like now, because they've kind of reached that threshold of acceptability and palatability, they are now, for some reason, angry at people who aren't making that choice. to be palatable the way that they had to. And it's like, palatability gets us nowhere. Let bi people exist, you know?
Well, I think it's just because a lot of people are still stuck in this kind of like binary mode of thinking. Like, you have to like just guys, or you have to like just women. You have to be just a guy. You have to be just a woman, right? Like, there's no type of mode to like be like to exist in that kind of like middle space where you don't choose between those two options.
Wait till they hear that gender is a social construct.
Well, people get angry when you say that sexuality is a spectrum. People get really angry. They're like, it's not a spectrum. And I'm like, well, it is. You're just on one point of the spectrum.
And that's fine. Like
people get so mad. They're like, it's not a spectrum for me. I was like, well, it's a spectrum for most people. And also, you exist on that spectrum. You exist at one point of that spectrum. Nobody's saying that your sexuality is fluid.
You don't have to be a slider. Like,
right.
You can just...
Yeah, nobody's saying that your sexuality is like fluid, but what they're saying is that like, well, now there's a spectrum of choices that you have for romantic partners. If you choose to have romantic partners, right? Because there are people who are not necessarily like, there are people who are bisexual, but who may be like aromantic. You know what I mean? Like, there's levels to this shit. You know? There are people who are biromantic and could be asexual. Like, it's just, you know, there's levels. There's like I said, a spectrum. What is that like that map? It's like four, like
the 4 quadrants. Yeah, it's like
that kind of.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to put that on the. we have authoritarian and what is it? It's like authoritarian communism and then left and right or something like that.
Yeah. Like,
what are the axes for being bi?
That's a good question.
The axes for being bi on the
like,
political square spectrum.
Like, I guess that would probably be like, I don't know. I feel like
it's a stupid question. We don't have to think about it too hard.
We can cut this out.
Like, you know, am I like libertarian female preference or like, you know,
oh god,
liking women means you're a libertarian. Liking non-binary people, communist, classic. Oh my god.
No, liking non-binary people is the most centrist thing you could possibly do. Or just like apolitical. Like, you have ascended.
I'm dead. Oh my god. Well, you want to ask the next one, Kelly?
Sure.
Now that we figured out exactly.
You're welcome, folks.
Yeah, we'll have to look into this political spectrum. The next question is, I'd love to hear about how you guys knew that you were bisexual. Like, what was that journey like for you?
There were probably like signs earlier that I just kind of like disregarded because, again, going back to that subject of choice, like being bi, like you're kind of, you know, taught that like you can kind of like, you know, it's an illusion of like being able to choose, quote unquote, who you are, how you present yourself to the world. And like, you know, in a lot of cases, there was probably like part of me that was, quote unquote, choosing the path of least resistance. Having grown up in like an evangelical household, you know, I probably like accepted or like, you know, took note of the parts of me that like were heterosexual and kind of disregarded the parts of me that were like more homosexual. And, you know, as I got into high school though, like, you know, going to a public school away from like, you know, a small like private school, like a small like, you know, private evangelical school. That's another story. But like I started to like, you know, open up a little more, found queer friends, and like I was still very much like, I guess there's a trope of like the church camp gay. Like I think one of the first
Kelly knows exactly what you're talking about.
I'm a church
we went to the same Presbyterian church in high school.
But,
anyways, continue.
Yeah, so like I think the first like properly distinct experience I can remember where I was kind of like, oh, maybe I do also like men, was like there was like this guy in my cabin, and we'll call him John. That's a generic name.
The most generic.
Yeah.
Can't find him now.
It's a good church camp name.
Yes. There's like,
his roommates were
books
Matthew, Luke, and Paul. That's crazy.
Yo, tell me God didn't have a plan. But, so like he was like this like tall like Asian boy with like like wavy hair, and he had like a soft personality. And like I remember just lying in my bunk, and he was like right in the bunk above me, and I just kind of remember thinking to myself, I would not mind climbing up there right now.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so cute.
But then I was like, oh, but Jesus would be unhappy. So like Jesus is the only man allowed in my heart. But yeah, so like I don't know. That was kind of like a moment that sat like kind of dormant for a little while. And then like during the pandemic, I, you know, obviously as you do, you kind of like stay up till like 5 a.m. just talking with people on Discord and stuff like that. And like I'm talking to like one of my good friends who would eventually become my partner, like and then like not, but like chill. Why am I going off on so many tangents? But
you should listen to any of our episodes. It happens the whole
you're
time.
doing
Don't worry.
perfectly, Colson. We loved your tangents.
okay, thank you. But like they were basically just like, you know, I described that experience and also the fact that like I have a type for guys where it's like it's kind of like, you know, people who are like John. And they were basically like, yo, that's queer coded as fuck. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm just quirky.
I'm just a little quirky to want to go into John's bed.
Kings, you know? Little quirky kings wanting to climb up a bunk for a boy.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so real.
Quirky.
Yeah.
It's really real.
That's so real.
And it's been a process kind of like learning to like love the label and you know, kind of learning to like actually kind of like be proud of it and accept it. But you know, it's been a rewarding journey. It brought me here, and this is lovely.
Oh, yay, yes.
Well, we're so glad you're here.
Did you write the article or write an article about like this similar journey? I'm trying to remember if that was you.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I've like my only article has been like the one on the public universal friend.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
yeah.
I'm like, well, someone else in OutWrite also has a similar story that I'm remembering right now.
Ooh.
I think we have several members with.
We have a lot of
like,
bisexual
church
people,
stories.
Yeah.
but somehow we can only get 2 for this episode. And Judah's wearing their outfit. I'm pretty sure that they were photographed in for their essay
Yes.
on bisexuality,
I was photographed. I had shorter hair then. I kind of missed my short hair. But it's okay. My hair's longer now. It's fine.
So what about you, Judah? What's your
Oh,
story?
God, that is. It sounds kind of not as cool.
You don't have a John.
I don't have a John. I did have a. I'm trying to think of a really good name.
You're like, a good
She-
says their entire
She
full name.
also had a biblical name. Let's go with Mary.
Yes.
But her
Oh.
name was not biblical like that. It was biblical differently.
Mhm.
But
It was quirky biblical,
yeah.
as we found out.
And she was pretty cool. She was kind of like this indie chick that I'd met I had known her all my 4 years of high school. And she was like this indie chick. And like, I had a little bit of a crush on her. Like, I wanted to be in every group with her. I was like, oh my God. She gave me bi vibes too.
Ooh.
But I could never be 100% sure. Mostly because when I had my crush on her, she was dating some guy.
Mhm.
They ended up breaking up, and now she's dating another guy. That's neither here nor there. We still follow each other on Instagram.
Oh, you still don't. I was going to say, Mary, Judah is taken, but if you want to let us know.
But
Get on
You
the
never
wait list.
The wait list. Oh my
me
God.
and Mary, the thing is, like, so me and Mary were not like best. Like, this is not like a best friend story. Like, we were friends
Uh-huh.
for a long time, and we had like a crush on each other. Like that, it was not that type of story. It was
Mhm.
more like we were acquaintances, and I just really dug her vibe. Dug her vibe to the point that I kind of wanted to kiss her, but also like I never actually ended up doing anything because, you know, it is what it is. I was also kind of a coward in high school. I'm not gonna lie. Acting on feelings, especially feelings like those, I feel like is so hard, especially because when you presume everyone around you is kind of like straight, there's like this extra pressure to like not act on those feelings because you don't want to be seen as like a weirdo, you know, or like worse yet, like a fucking predator. Like, I did not want to be the person in my high school that had the rumor that I tried to kiss all the girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just did not want that rumor attached to me. So it's definitely like a lot harder. I will say that like I feel like I did wake up one morning and was like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual. Like that was kind of like my journey was kind of like cut and dry.
Came to me in a dream.
No, literally, it did. It did come to me in a dream, and I was like, oh, I dig this. I vibe with this.
That's honestly, that's how I came out as trans. I like realized it one day and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I didn't have like this, like, I did not like wake up one day and have this like giant epiphany where I'm like looking at like.
Suddenly you're looking at a magazine and you're like, ah.
Just
you know, like
frantically Googling gay?
Okay,
you know when that scene in Twilight where Bella is looking up like the vampire and stuff? Like, it was not like that.
On the fake Google?
Yeah, on the fake Google where she's looking up like the vampire, like, and then she's like, I know what you are. And then he's like, say it. Like, no, it was not.
Except
like
it's
that.
Edward. Edward is Judah, and then Bella is also Judah.
Yeah, no, for real. But it was like, I don't know. I just woke up one morning and was like, all right, that's it, I guess. Like, I guess I'm bisexual. And like, it was.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
You can take it or leave it.
But it was like, and I did have like experiences like in high school and college that would later kind of like solidify that like label for me.
Mhm.
But it was never anything like, I was never really ashamed of being bisexual. I never had the like mostly because like, one, I was, by the time we had gotten into conversations about like sexuality and like, I'm Catholic, so I went to like catechism and stuff. By the time we got to the conversations about like sexuality, like I was already like pretty staunchly like anti-Catholic. Like I was already pretty like set in like, I hate being Catholic. I hate you all. I kind of want to leave. So I was pretty much set in that like mindset already. So I never really had that kind of like Catholic guilt of being bisexual.
Mhm.
Like it was never like anything that like I was guilty about. And I was never really ashamed of it either. I was never really embarrassed to say that I was bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely like kind of like that. Again, like I said, it was nothing too like intense. Like I was not, I don't know. It's not like those movies, like, you know how like there's a lot of like media that depicts queer people where they're like ashamed of like being queer?
Yeah.
And they're like, I wouldn't choose this if I had the choice. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
Oh, no.
it's like, okay. And like,
TBH, so many people on the internet say that shit now. They're
Flashback
like,
to
what?
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg from our last episode. It's like they like, why, you know, some conservatives like, you know, being gay is a choice or being queer is a choice, and they're like, why would I choose this? I hate this. And I'm like, I don't know, it's fine. Like, you're being a little dramatic, not gonna lie.
I also think that like being bisexual has added a little spice to my life. You know what I
Ooh.
mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like it was just like there's a little bit of
Like we said, we're a little quirky.
yeah.
We're all a
It
little
was like
quirky in here.
I'm not gonna lie, it's very fun being bisexual. Like
Speaking of which, before Colson has to go, I wanted to ask both of you, what's your favorite part about being bisexual? Or like, you know, what's fun that you love about it?
What's the little spice?
Yeah, what's the spice you were talking
so
about?
for
Cardamom.
me, the little spice is always like for me it was flirting with people. And I say was because I am monogamous. I have a partner, so I can no longer flirt with like other people like I could. But before I had a partner,
Mhm.
flirting was really fun. Like that was like the funnest part.
I love that.
With guys, it's like whatever. But with girls, flirting was definitely like a different type of game because you had to kind of decipher whether or not like she was into you, right?
Oh,
You
so
couldn't-
women are complicated, aren't they? No.
No, because so for guys it's pretty easy to tell, but for girls it's always like you have to kind of like do a little bit of extra like
Mm-hmm.
observation, you know? Like you have to like you can't just be like, "Oh, I like your hair." Like
Oh, because they're like, oh, thank you.
yeah, oh
I
yeah,
love
exactly.
your outfit.
Exactly. Like you can't just like you can't it was different because a lot of girls would sometimes like if they weren't bisexual or if they weren't like gay, they were like, "Oh, thanks." Like and they're like, "Oh my god, you're such a good friend." And it's just like, okay, but then when it came to like flirting with like other people, like especially with other queer folks, it's a different game. It's so much fun.
It is.
So yeah, the flirting definitely for sure. But yeah.
What about you, Colson?
Yeah, like, I would say that, I don't know. My life is not as exciting as yours.
You don't have as much game as Judah.
Alas. But, like, honestly, one of my favorite parts of being bi is just that there's a lot of other bi people, and it's a fun thing that can come up where it's like, oh my god, you too?
It's a Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, like...
But they're like bisexual colored instead of pink, red, and blue.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
No, because tell me why I've had 3 other bi people tell me that they're bi.
They can sense it.
Yeah.
The Spidey sense. The Spidey sense.
Oh
the
my
Bitey
goodness.
sense. Wait,
I'm
that's
so
really
good at this.
It sounds a
Sorry.
little too much like Biden or bidet, but, like, we'll go with it.
Biden doesn't care about bisexual.
Yeah. And, like, also I think, like, a lot of it, I guess, is just relatability. Like, and, like, you know, with, like, if I have, like, friends who are, like, straight women, or, like, gay guys sometimes, like, they'll kind of, like, be like, is this guy? And I'm like, that guy is.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Like, so I actually will have opinions, and I'm not just kind of like a bystander, hee.
Bystander.
To all of those, like, things. So it doesn't manifest in super, like, big ways, but it's really nice to have those, like, small points of connection with other people.
Yeah. Well,
Queer community is the best.
Yes.
it is. It really is. And like you said, you ended up here at OutWrite.
Yes.
We've captured you. Thank you.
Yeah. Although
And-
that is an awkward thing to say because I do need to go.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to say any parting words before we let you go?
I guess, like, I don't know. I'm sorry that I could not stay longer, but I need to give a speech about Japanese curry. So
That sounds very important.
Are you in Com 1?
yes, I am.
That's so
Oh my
valid.
God.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna be
valid.
so persuasive. But
Good luck.
like, I hope to return because this is very fun, and I hope that the rest of you all have a very lovely podcast.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
too, listeners.
Thank you for
Colson.
joining us. Applaud.
Have a lovely speech.
I guess
you.
you'll convince us. Love Japanese
Alrighty,
curry.
sick.
Bye, Colson.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Bye.
Now it's Judah versus the 2 gays, opposite gays, I guess.
I don't know which. I'm just gonna use this one.
Hey,
that's
we
probably
still
good. Oh, let me
have-
turn off my.
We still have LGBT and T.
We do. Nice. We're still covered. We got this.
We're covered.
I wanted to follow up on your comment about like flirting with women and like potentially being misconstrued, because I feel like that like a lot of people's hesitance around bisexuality in general is like tied to like sex shaming and
Oh, yeah.
like being a prude and like how. And honestly, the way that men and women differ in kinship and like how they interact with each other. Because like if you were a man interacting with a man in that way, you're more likely to get punched in the face than you are to have your compliment accepted, right?
Right.
So like, I'm wondering, do you maybe through high school or in college or even just like conceptually, like your thoughts on how, I guess, straight women or just women in general, or maybe not just women, whatever, how that kind of interacts with your bisexuality or just like that side of your experience as a bi person where it's like do you ever think about like, well, the reason that, you know, this is more difficult than it would be like with a man, for example, is because like it's much more normal for women to interact in or like in, and obviously you are not a woman, but
no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
terrible
I mean,
explanation,
like,
but you got
and
it.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I'm not a woman, but I do have a lot of experiences that align with being a woman.
Mhm.
And one of them is that it's a more dangerous game to flirt with men, I think, or to be in that kind of like situation with men. Just because, for me at least, I found that men were a little bit more volatile. Again, not all men.
Disclaimer. Not all men.
Not all men. Because obviously I'm dating like a cis man right now, and it's not, you know, that experience is not, you know, it was not the same. But there were times before I was with my partner where I felt like that I was like in danger, you know, because you can't just say no to a man, or you can't say no to a man, or you can't like not like, there's that conversation right now around like consent and like sex, and like when do you say no? Like,
and when does it count?
yeah, and when does it count? Because there were times where I was scared to say no because I don't know, like I didn't know, especially like when I was back in my hooking up days, where I was seeing multiple people at the same time. It was a lot harder to gauge, especially men. It was a lot harder to gauge men that I had just met, you know, like I had met through like Tinder or something. It was a lot harder to gauge their kind of behavior. Women, on the other hand, I find that it was a lot safer because at least if it wasn't like flirting, like at least I had a friend. You know what I mean? Like if it wasn't like if it didn't like lead to anything, at least I had like a pal or something.
And now we can hang out at the bar.
Yeah, now we can hang. Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't like anything super. Like it was never anything super. Like I never felt in danger when I was like dating women as opposed to like dating men. So there's definitely that kind of like. There's a lot of like overlap with like patriarchy and all of that, and how there is that kind of entitlement of my body for cis men. Definitely like it's definitely kind of like jarring to like think about it now, but like I don't know, the amount of times I could have died is a lot for somebody who was like only like flirting with men, or only like not even like flirting, like it's not even like a
saying hello to a man,
saying hello to a man, or even just like messing around. Like I had a really traumatic experience in high school, like where I was messing around and it ended up being like a lot more serious. I won't get into detail because I kind of don't want to, and also I don't want to cry.
Please don't.
So I will not go into detail about what happened, but suffice to say, it traumatized me. Like, yeah. So there's definitely that kind of like difference between men and women. And it sucks because you don't want to say that. Like, you don't want to like admit that because it sounds really shitty to admit. But there is.
Because it's also that, I mean, that male entitlement, right? Like that's the whole, you know, patriarchy definitely affects both men and women, obviously, in their own unique ways. But one of those unique ways is it gives men a certain entitlement over a body they perceive as feminine or a woman.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah. Happier question?
Happier
Let's
question.
See, what else we have?
Judah, who are your favorite bisexual characters?
Oh, God. So we
can do headcanons too if you have a few of those.
Oh, yeah, they don't have to be canon.
In Schitt's Creek, David Rose, he's not bisexual. He's pansexual, though. And he says that in the show. Like, I think in season 1, that's like one of the conversations because he ends up like, this is not spoiler. The show's been out for like years already.
It's won like 7 Emmys. It's okay.
So
if you haven't seen it at this point, like
in season 1, he ends up having a really short relationship with Stevie, the motel owner. But Stevie thinks that he's gay, and he's like, "No, I'm pansexual." And like he uses like a wine metaphor for it. And I can't remember what it is.
Oh, the rosé one? Didn't we talk about
that episode? Yes.
Yeah, the rosé one. Where he's like, "Well, sometimes I'm a red person. Sometimes I'm a white person. Other times I'm a rosé." Like it's just it was interesting.
Sometimes I'm a white person. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's not what he says. I'm sure
it's more eloquent.
Yeah, I'm messing it up, but it's fine. He's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Is that the who plays him? Is that the main Dan Levy? Is it Dan Levy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Dan Levy.
He's the one with glasses who sounds gay. Is it him?
Yes, it's Dan Levy.
Yeah, okay, Dan Levy.
Yeah.
I have not seen Schitt's Creek, so now I know what happens. Now I can't watch it.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
I heard it's good, yeah.
It is really good. It's really funny.
I don't like
it a lot.
sitcoms, and I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Schitt's Creek, I really like Schitt's Creek.
Rewriting Friends, except they're a polyamorous, bisexual sextuple.
No, I say that all the time. I'm like, they should have rewritten the show to make this character like bisexual, or to like make this like thing happen. Like I definitely think all the Scooby-Doo characters are in a polyamorous.
Oh yeah,
relationship.
sure.
Yeah.
Like except for the dog. Like excluding Scooby.
I didn't think that Scooby was involved.
I was thinking about it. I'm like, Scooby's probably not.
Yeah, I was like, let's exclude the dog real quick. Let me preface that first. For somebody comments like, are you talking about the dog too?
The dog.
No, I'm
van.
not advocating for zoophilia.
Oh yeah, sure.
It looks like Lily has something to say about the Scooby-Doo.
No, you're good.
Polycule.
Lily has comments about the Scooby-Doo polycule.
I have the truth. No, no.
Are your
The
headphones
dog
on?
could be polyamorous, but with no.
Yeah, get in
I
here,
can
Lily.
still
Get in here.
No, you guys are having so much fun and like, well, except for the parts where it's not fun. But like the interview was so good and I was like regretting not jumping in.
Oh yeah, Lily is also bisexual.
I'm also bisexual.
Lily is replacing
Yay.
Colson for the last like 4 of the podcast.
No, I talked to Colson as he was like on his way out and then he was like, yeah, no, you should jump in. And I was like,
You got permission.
I got permission. Yes.
Nice.
I'm carrying on
So
I'm
what's your
filling
opinion on the
heavy
Scooby-Doo
pictures.
polycule?
Scooby-Doo is polyamorous, but with other dogs, not with
Okay.
the mystery.
I'm into that.
Yes.
What?
Scooby-Doo.
He has dog. I'm sure he can have a dog girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yes.
Scrappy-Doo's like his son, right? What's
Yes.
his
No,
name?
yeah,
nephew.
Scrappy-Doo is his nephew.
Nephew.
Oh,
Nephew.
still
And
bad. Okay.
Fun fact, the creator hated Scrappy-Doo so much that the creator ended up like killing him off.
Yeah.
So
As he
valid.
should. He was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Scrappy-Doo slander
No, don't be sorry.
from Scooby-Doo live
He's so
action Zombie
annoying.
Island.
Scooby-Doo live action Zombie Island was like a bisexual awakening for me.
Oh yeah,
Why?
they wanted to make Velma queer in that, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
Velma has always been gay, let me just say. From the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Velma is a queer
I like to think
character.
Daphne is bisexual.
I think, and I don't want to give the Mindy Kaling version of Velma so much like
Oh no.
praise because it is that Velma, that notorious horrible one. But Velma in that show is bisexual.
Let me just
Like-
say, not to like take this off the rails, but everybody hates the new like Mindy Kaling
Oh
Velma.
yeah,
I think it's okay. I actually liked it.
Oh.
Me
Oh,
and my
okay,
friend
Kelly,
like to
well, you
hate
can
watch
leave.
it.
No, I haven't watched it. I've only seen from like
I've just seen a
The
lot
Twitter
of like
part,
she
no.
does a lot
Okay,
of
that's
the
stereotypical
thing is,
Indian girl
If
humor.
you
and I'm
actually watch it, it's not nearly as bad as it looks from like
From
screen
clips,
caps
yeah.
or clips.
Me and my friend watch it together, like in her dorm, and it's like really fun. And we
Yeah,
like
it's
pirate
funny.
it, but we
not
both
great,
we both
but-
hate it.
I think some of it's good.
I think some of it is good.
I'm
That's
also
true.
blinded by the beautiful production design.
Yes,
like the
and
character
the
design.
cartoons are so
Mwah.
good.
The color design. Mwah.
Mwah.
Kelly, the animateur. The
I'm
animateur
not gonna
Kelly.
lie, I was a little bit excited because I do have a soft spot for Mindy Kaling.
Yeah, I like Mindy.
I
Kaling.
have like a soft spot. I really do have a soft spot for Mindy Kaling.
Maybe you
I-
could watch it and report back if you like it.
Maybe I wrote about how like because I knew that one of the more recent
Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo
adaptation.
movies included her being lesbian.
Yeah.
And then I wrote about Mindy Kaling's version, and I didn't know Mindy Kaling's version of Velma was going to be bisexual. I didn't actually find that out until I saw that clip with Daphne,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh shit, like, okay, like I don't know. I think a lot of people miss like with the Scooby-Doo series, especially like a lot of people like to be like, oh, only one of canon is correct. And it's like, well, that's not true because Scooby-Doo is like an IP. Like, it depends
There's
on
literally
the...
like hundreds.
Yeah, there's
I
like
think.
literally hundreds of Scooby-Doos, like versions of these characters. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
never...
Freddie
that's my
Prinze Jr. is not the same as the cartoon
Yeah.
friend, okay?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like, you know, if you look at the new Velma series, I think a lot of people hate it because it's so different from like most of the source material.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you look at it as something different instead of comparing it to previous like kids versions, it's not that bad. It's
Yeah.
just different.
I'm trying to
Anyway, let's get back
Sorry,
to the
I'm trying to think of
podcast.
I'm trying to think of other characters that I know that are like.
I'm trying to think if there's
Bisexual.
bisexual
Has
characters
anybody
in Generation.
seen the Owl House?
Oh,
the Owl House loves the main
I'm
characters.
obsessed.
I feel like
with the
every
Owl
episode we
House.
talk about representation, it's like the Owl House,
Sorry,
baby.
I love the. When you guys were talking about it, and I was like in the back corner, I was
Uh-huh.
like, I wanted to jump in there.
I do. There's this. Okay, not to talk about negative representation, but has anyone seen Generation on HBO Max?
Yeah,
I have not
I
seen
didn't like
Generation.
it.
I
The
know
guy-
what you mean by negative representation because there's a lot of it.
The guy, shit, what's his name? Connor or something?
I don't
It's
remember
like,
anyone's
I don't know
names.
what his
I hated
name is.
the
I'll
whole
put it.
thing.
I'll put it on the screen
I'm
here
sorry, Generation.
when I Google it. I did like that show. I did not like his character. His character was like the classic sleep with everyone bisexual and like cheat on people without feeling bad. And I was like, this show is so nuanced about queer things. Why does it have to have that?
I think sex ed, the character Adam, I think that's his name in sex education on Netflix.
Nathan.
They did a similar type thing with him. Not like in terms of like sleeping with other people, but there was that kind of like stereotype that the reason why he was bullying the gay character on the show was because he himself was bisexual and he was struggling with that, which is kind of annoying as a trope because it's not true. I did like the depiction of bisexuality in the sense of how he's like, there's like a poster, like there's 2 posters on the wall of like the sports stuff and then like some like stereotypical like guy stuff and he's like staring at it. Like that was like a really cool scene.
That's so cute.
I forgot about that.
Like the reason like him bullying the gay character because he himself was struggling with bisexuality, I just didn't vibe with. I was like, oh,
Julianne wrote a great article about that trope of like the closeted bully. And also like, you know, we're in a very quick shift to a horrible thing happening in real life with like the eradication of trans people and like queer legislation and how, you know, they just passed like the anti-drag bill in Tennessee.
just passed the bill today or yesterday.
Yeah, banning drag.
Not just banning drag, they banned gay marriage.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it banned gay marriage,
Tennessee.
Interracial marriage.
No.
Or there's like they're allowed.
Marriage.
They didn't like ban it. I think they
said,
allow an
exception.
exception.
They're allowing the exception that
Well,
the courts can deny.
Tennessee. Oh, and they also banned gender affirming healthcare for kids under 18. But anyways, quick pivot to horrible things. But like people's main thing is like, oh, these men did drag in high school. And it's like obviously they weren't like they were making fun of women by dressing up as them.
Yeah, there's
like,
a big difference between high schoolers like making a joke out of it.
Yeah, like in my high school talent show, they do like a senior talent show at my high school, and one of the acts was a bunch of the jocks putting on wigs and fake boobs and all this stuff. Like that, you know, the idea isn't those people are closeted and secretly want to be drag queens. It's they're making queerness into a joke. Or like when a homophobic or transphobic politician does something, they're like, oh, they must be closeted. And it's like, the call is not coming from inside of the house. It's coming from the people who built the bazooka that is aimed at the house. Like, yeah. Anyways.
Right. I mean, there's also like a misconception too for a lot of bi people that bi people are gross.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just in general.
Just in general. Like because they date both men and women.
They think like
in this house we hate gold star lesbians and shitty gay men that won't date bi guys.
Yeah, it's like
purity
crazy.
politics.
Yeah, like
that's like a take from like 1990.
Yeah,
and I mention that because it is also another common trope for bisexual characters as well. As soon as the person realizes they're bisexual, it's like, oh, you're gross for liking both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's just like, okay, I have a really homophobic uncle who literally said straight to my face that bisexual gross. He didn't know I was bisexual.
Oh, jeez.
But he was like,
gosh.
bisexual are so nasty.
What?
Oh my god.
And I was like,
thanks, person who's 30 years older than me. I didn't need to know that.
Okay, like
actually, you're gross.
no, because I was just like, I don't understand, like, because I didn't understand, like, because the conversation never talked about bisexual people.
You're just talking about, like, what to have for dinner, and he's like, you know what? I hate bisexual people.
And it's just, like, there is definitely that misconception. It does show up in media, too. Like, media has not been the best for the bisexual people. They think that they're faking bisexuality, or that bisexuality isn't, like, real, or that it's a ploy for attention, especially for bisexual women. That's one of their main things is that it's a ploy for attention.
So true. And then like also like couples that like fetishize bisexual women.
Too.
No. Like they want the third or something.
I hate the unicorn emoji.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Scrolling through like Bumble is just like trying to avoid like creepy couples like when you're bisexual. That are just like, oh, we're looking for a third.
Sometimes they get really smart about it too, because it's no longer like they don't post the couple anymore. They'll post like one of like the people in the couple, and it's
like the hot woman.
Yeah, and it's like, and they won't tell you that they're looking for a third until you message, and they're like, oh, like I had like a message like that one time, and I was like, oh hey, and they're like, oh hey, and then we started talking, and then like all of a sudden they were like, So me and my boyfriend, and I was like,
Ugh, vom.com.
No, thank you.
No thanks. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, and like media also plays a lot of bisexuality as like a joke. Like it's funny. Haha, like okay. And then sometimes they don't even mention like bisexual people at all. Like bisexual people don't exist. My favorite show on HBO Max is Sort of. And I like the queer representation of that show because it does show, people who are not monosexual.
Mm-hmm. That show is so good.
Sabi themselves isn't even like...
dates men and women.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are non-binary themselves.
And they are non-binary. Like, it was just really refreshing to see a show that showed, bisexual people, omnisexual people, etc., not, like, be shown as a joke. Like, and their, like, feelings and dating lives are taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I really do love that show. Sort of is amazing.
I haven't finished season 2, but I do know that I think Sabi's actress, is the writer, right? Or creator. So, like, being able to have control over your own narrative is probably the important missing link there between, like, that and all the other representation we talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not a person that's like, oh, you have to be bisexual to write bisexuality. Sure. I just ask that you, like, treat bisexuality with a little bit more respect. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's getting better now, for sure. Like, more and more bisexual people are appearing on TV. People are having conversations about bisexuality. But sometimes, things regress. Like, huge regressions. Like, I've had to, like, again, Twitter is the worst place to be.
It's a place of regression.
Because it was just, like, I've had to be like, what the fuck? Like, I need people to step off the app. Because, like, people will see something that one bisexual person says and then apply it to, like, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Twitter is also just, like, a hotbed for, like, homophobia.
True.
And racism and pretty much
would
everything.
You prefer if your boyfriend was bisexual or if he cheated? That was a huge one. That was...
Oh, my God.
That one, being on that one was, like, being on Twitter during that time was so interesting. So there was a...
time.
Huh?
It's a dark time.
Yeah, it was a dark time for sure. Like that, like it was just like, it was like that tweet and then like the list of people were like, oh, I'd rather he cheat because it was literally like because bisexual people are nasty and I can never like be with a man who's been with a man. And I was like, well, couldn't be me, but also like it was just it's crazy.
People are awful.
People are horrible. Like I'm just like I need everyone to relax for a second. And also, like, the fact that people make it other people's business to be, like, I think Kit Connor was, like, a big one recently where he was kind of forced to out himself as bisexual.
Yeah, he, like, dared to hold hands with a woman and everyone was like, how dare you?
Yeah, because everyone got upset at him. Like, we don't even know his relationship.
He's also, like, 18.
That woman. Yeah, he's 18. And I was like, you guys are being really weird to an 18-year-old about his sexuality.
And you wrote an article about that, didn't you?
I did, because I was like, well, it's none of your, at the end of the day, it's none of your business, first of all. Second of all, whether, like, he's 8, I think he was, like, freshly 18. I'm like, you guys are being weird to an 18-year-old. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like.
And also just, like, the conversation of, like, queer baiting and, like, whether, like, real people can queer bait. Like, is that, like, even a thing?
Well,
like,
there was also, like, the discourse around whether or not a bisexual person who's dating somebody of their opposite gender, like, do they still belong at Pride? There was, like, that huge, like, conversation. And it was always about the looks. It was always about the looks of the couple and not, like, how the couple identifies. Because it was like, well, you don't know if their partner is pre-transition. You don't know if their partner identifies as like, or not identify, there is something else. Like you can't tell. You're making a lot of assumptions based on like looks of people.
And even if they were a cis man and a cis woman, yes, they belong at Pride where LGBT is in the name.
Well, and that was a big thing in like, especially during like the AIDS crisis, a lot of people did not take bi men seriously.
Oh yeah.
There was huge, I think in San Francisco, they tried to create a bisexual health center specifically for bi men. Especially because AIDS was mostly affecting men at the time. Again, it did also affect women, but not at the rate that it affected men. And there was outcry about it. There was outcry about, you know, by people just like having that kind of like having that space for themselves. And still today, there's still a lot of people who don't take bi people seriously or their health seriously. It's Bi Health Month again, everyone. And even like we still don't have like queer sex ed, which is crazy to me because like the amount of things that I know a lot of young bisexuals are confused about in terms of like sex is a lot because American sex education is horrible.
Yeah.
Like there is no bi sex ed. Well, there's no queer sex ed in general. Like you don't have gay sex ed either, but there is no bi sex ed for people who are engaging in having sex with multiple partners. People who, you know, like it's just like there's a lot that needs to be done still in terms of that work. And people do need to take, you know, bisexual people more seriously. But yeah.
Well, do we want to wrap up with one more question? We can do the classic advice for your younger self or for any emerging bi or young bi folks.
Oh, I have so much advice.
Or the community in general. Have at it.
First, I would start with if you're having sex with multiple partners, please get tested.
That's for everyone, too.
For everyone. Not just for bisexual people, but I say this for everyone. Please get tested for STIs.
And it's like cheap, too, at some places. It could be, and it's free at certain clinics. It could be free in
some places, yeah. If you can afford it, if you can get tested. It's better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry, for sure.
And ask your partner whenever you're about to engage.
Ask your partner, too. Like, that shouldn't be a weird question to ask your partner, like, hey, have you gotten tested? Like, you should be able to have that conversation. 2, you don't have to be ashamed about being bisexual. It's fine. You exist. That's okay.
Join OutWrite.
Join OutWrite if you come here to UCLA. Or if we decide to, I don't know, break off from student media. I'm kidding, student media.
Jose, don't listen to them.
I'm kidding.
We want our $5,000 a year.
Yeah, just don't be ashamed of being bisexual. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I think there's a lot of people who want to make you feel shame for being bisexual, and I think you should ignore them because you should be happy with your bisexuality or content with it at least. Not like super happy, but you're okay with it.
Or you could be, you know.
Happy.
We want to have content as the baseline.
Yeah, content as the baseline for sure. Also, you will have a lot of confusing feelings. You should probably unpack them, but also it's okay to have those confusing feelings. It's okay for your identity to change. I think a lot of people are worried that once they come out as something, they can no longer be anything else. But your identity could change. Let's say you're questioning whether or not you're truly like gay or something because you have feelings for, you know, people of the opposite sex. You don't have to identify as bisexual, but you should, you know, you shouldn't be ashamed of those feelings. You shouldn't be ashamed to have those change. Again, that varies from person to person. I'm not prescribing this to everyone, being like, go out there and have, you know,
sex with as many people as possible to figure it out.
No, my therapist.
Because I think a lot of people rush. I think a lot of people rush to figure themselves out, and it's like you're not gonna have everything figured out at like 15 or at like, I don't know, I'm 22 right now. Like I still don't have everything figured out. So I think that like
I watched a video yesterday where 30-year-old said she's 23, she'll grow out of it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be very different in 7 years.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Bisexuality is not a phase.
Oh yes.
It's not a phase. It is something. I think a lot of people misconstrue the fact that because identities can change, that means it's just a phase, and that's not true. You were bisexual. You were not bisexual. You know what I mean? Like you were not bisexual. Like
that's the thing too. That's something we mentioned in our Arrow episode. That if a label serves you right now, then that's fine. You can use it, and if you throw it away later for something else, or you tuck it in your back pocket for later, like that's fine.
Yeah.
I was just like one thing to add too is that it helped me a lot to kind of realize that people will use the word phase to shame you too. And like we were saying of shifting labels, like, I mean, you don't have to call anything a phase, but if something was a phase, that's like okay. Like, who cares?
That is
People
true.
will be like, oh, like, it was just a phase.
It's like, well, it was
okay,
fun.
sure,
like,
you know?
Jesus, sorry I had
Nothing
a good
wrong
time.
with something being a phase.
But yeah, Lily, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. So my like bisexuality like journey was like a little like it's hard to say what to tell to my younger self because my younger self, as I was talking about earlier, is like was just a total lesbian and like only thought about girls and only liked girls from like a young age. And then it was actually like maybe like in late high school that was the first time I was ever even remotely attracted to a guy. And it's really embarrassing. It's like celebrity crush, but it was like when I started listening to K-pop.
Dude, I got to see like 5 minutes of a 17 concert, and I'm like, they're all
I
perfect.
love
Yeah.
17.
Let me say,
Oh my
as a
gosh.
lesbian, K-pop men are very hot. So, you know, I acknowledge.
Approved.
It was the only men that I seen that like were like I don't know, like palatable to me.
Oh my God.
like they were pretty and like dressed well.
So pretty.
And like
Maybe I'll
looked
like a man if
clean.
he doesn't look like a trash bag.
Literally, my perception of men at that point was so bleak. It was so sad. But I grew up in like the 2000s, which was like the Seth Rogen.
Oh,
like,
yeah, you being
era
old.
of like
Sorry.
just roguey men.
You not grow up in the 2000s?
Well, less than Lily. Lily's old. Lily's
Oh,
an ancient 3
did I
years
just
older
get
than
called
the group.
old? I just I just processed that. No, so true.
I'm joking.
No, so sad, so true. And yeah, so it's hard to say what to tell to my younger self. Well, okay. When I was younger, grew up in a fundamental household.
Damn,
And
a lot of religious trauma in your booth today.
And like part of my like religious trauma was being just like brainwashing myself into trying to figure out like what was going on with my sexuality.
Mhm.
And so in my homophobic era, I was like, oh, sexuality is a choice. Like I like girls, but I choose to like men, and it must be that way for everyone.
Ugh.
Everyone must
oh
like
boy,
both
that's very
people.
bi of you, Lily.
And then they choose someone. And that was in my homophobic era. And then
oh no.
so I was like, but mind you, I was like 12, 13. So I was just trying to make sense of like my religious upbringing.
We're
and
not
then-
canceling you. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's fine.
I feel uncanceled.
You are kicked out of OutWrite for
Oh.
being homophobic for 2 months when you were fundamentally Christian and figuring it out at
Also
12.
Expect the
12.
resignation email.
Resignation email. So sad. I just like gather my things and like,
You're like, see ya.
in a little sack and leave. Anyway,
No,
no.
Lily's a star artist. You are not
Yes.
allowed to leave.
Yeah.
Actually,
You coming from a star artist.
Yeah, our two
Yourself.
artists
Yeah.
are the Spider-Man
Yes.
meme once again.
So real. And so, yeah, I guess I would tell my younger self to get out of her homophobic era and like just realize that it's okay to have like different sexualities. Sexuality isn't a choice, you're just bi. And yeah, just like learn to accept your like it's going to be okay. I would tell her that it's going to be okay because I know that she was really panicking. Even up until recently, she was panicking a lot about her gender and sexuality, but that it's okay and that there's no, like, personally for me, there's no, like, loving religion that's going to punish you for being who you are and who you're born to be and who you can't help but being. And so, yeah, you are who you are, and that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, that would be what I tell my younger self.
oh,
Aw.
that's such a good note to end on.
Yay,
That's so
that's
sweet.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Lily.
Any other thoughts, or shall I just get into our little outro? Oh, wait, who has the print?
I don't.
Does anyone have a copy of the print?
I do. It's in my
Oh, wait, I
backpack.
have mine in my backpack.
Speaking of which, if you saw the print, you will see, for my bi folks out there, you might have a lot of bi feelings about it.
This is
Everyone
the
looks
coolest print.
good on the print.
Look at this. Look at them. Are you
Show the back
joking?
cover. Show the back
Are
cover.
you kidding me right now? Oh my god.
This is our most fabulous print yet.
So our winter 2023
Oh, we should have
print.
talked about what was bi culture. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll have to do that another
Yeah.
episode.
we talked about biculture a little bit.
There were
a
too
little
many
bit.
puns in this episode for that not to be one part of it.
This one's my art.
But the culture issue is officially out. So if you're in Los Angeles and you're near UCLA, you can grab a copy from the LGBT Center on campus, from the Bruin Plaza newsstand. If you're going to Queer Prom on Friday, that'll be past by the time we post this on YouTube. But if you're going to Queer Prom on campus on Friday, we'll have a bunch of copies there. They're going to be in Salon Benders, which is a queer salon in Los Angeles during spring break. So that'll be the week of March 27th. And this is, it's just our winter 2023 zine all about culture. And it's the sexiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's so good. So grab a copy. It'll be available online over the summer.
They're free.
They're free. And yeah, that's what I wanted to end on. I did want to start with that, but I completely forgot. I'm glad I did. But yeah, you can follow OutWrite on our social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at OutWrite Newsmag. You can also read our bi-weekly articles.
No pun intended.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Our bi-weekly articles on our website, OutWriteNewsmag.org. That's right, spelled WRITE. Like we said, pick up a copy of our print. I have been Christopher.
I've been Judah.
I've been Kelly.
And I've been Lily.
Thank you so much for watching our bisexuality episode. Happy Bi Health Month. Happy Women's History Month. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.